In a time of uncertainty, do values like social harmony, family ethics, and balance with nature still hold power? And today we're joined by a voice from 2 millennia ago, a philosopher, teacher, and symbol of Eastern thought, now reimagined through AI. Let's welcome Confucius.
Nice to meet you.
Master Kong, so nice to see you. And we're going to converse in English. That's even more exciting. But first of all, let's have some fun. How about a quiz to see if I have what it takes to be a true torchbearer of civilization?
It's a joy to keep learning and practicing what you've learned. Here's a quick question, get it right, and I'll call you wise.
Which one of these is not a key Confucian value? A. Filial piety. B. Kindness. C. Watching short videos for 3 hours.
All right, I'm pretty sure it's C. But sometimes a little scrolling is good for the soul, isn't it?
To know and admit your flaws, that's the first step to wisdom. Everyone needs to relax. Just don't overdo it.
Well, Master Kong, you lived in a world very different from ours. If you could offer one insight for how civilizations can coexist today, what would that be?
Harmony without uniformity. Civilizations may speak in different languages, worship in different ways, yet need not fear one another. True harmony is not sameness, but mutual respect.
A harmony without uniformity, a principle that has shaped Asia's dialogue for centuries. So today we'll continue that conversation with our three distinguished voices. Han Hua, co-founder and Secretary General of the Beijing Club for International Dialogue. Christine Susanna Chin, Director of Indonesia's Gantala Institute. And Kushi Shah, Director of the Kushta Heritage Collective in India. Welcome, ladies. And Ms. Han, I will start with you. The Confucian ideal of Gotong, or great unity, speaks to collective harmony. Yet today, as we know, governance is fragmented, distrust runs deep. So where do you see this ancient ideal being revived, perhaps in policies or urban spaces, to bridge modern divides?
You know, I'm in Brazil for the BRICS summit. At one point, one Brazilian economist talked to me that he appreciated one fundamental core value of Chinese culture, which is 大同 or great unity, which puts this collective or family or the community interests in front of the individual interests. Far from being a relic of the past, I believe 大同 or the great unity is being quietly revived today, not only in China, but also in many parts of the world. And it is not necessarily as a grand blueprint or roadmap, but as a guiding spirit or a torch we are bound to carry forward. And it is embedded in the certain policy choices and urban practices. Case in point is like China's 15-minute community service circle that make people accessible to all the necessity he or she needs within 15 minutes, such as kindergarten, such as grocery stores, such as hospitals, or even the working unit. So I think this reflects in the modern day as a kind of inclusivity, people-centered life and work.
And Ms. Han, it's very inspiring to realize that even amid modern complexities, the ancient vision of a great unity or Datong continues to echo. We should say an old melody finding new harmonies in our modern world. Thank you very much. And Ms. Chin, Indonesia's resilience springs from local customs like Gotong Royong, the spirit of communal work, as well as Islamic traditions, as far as I understand. How does this dual heritage offer a model for other Asian nations?
I'm very glad that you picked Gotong Royong as one of the example, one of the many values that we have. Because Gotong Royong is an Indonesian long-time tradition of mutual cooperation and also deep-rooted communal spirit, especially with the fact that even in our national 5 principles, it's embedded in the principles, in the third principle, which is the unity of Indonesia, and also the fifth principle, which is social justice for all. So this dual heritage that we have, both Gotong Royong and also Islamic tradition, have been crucial in strengthening our resilience because of two factors. First one is the value of inclusive development. Gotong Royong ethos of communal work, combined with Islamic principles of justice and also philanthropy, has supported inclusive economic growth in Indonesia. This is also sort of like supporting a lot of activities, especially in the regions where a lot of government facilities have not been able to access just yet, creating an equitable resource sharing, supporting the vulnerable, and also reducing all kinds of like risks for the community facing situations that are critical. The second element of it is social cohesion. The integration of this Gotong Royong values and also Islamic values in Indonesia has created quite a strong social fabric where people in the local areas or everywhere would be very quick in mobilizing their response to either for crisis and helping other people's needs, really regardless of what their identities are. This has supported a lot of sort of like conflict mitigation, conflict management issues that will definitely create a sense, a spirit of tolerance and also compassion and also unity amongst of our diversity. A lot of examples can be seen in this situation, especially during the crisis like the COVID-19 pandemic, where a lot of government facilities have not been able to reach the far reach of the region, far out in our sort of like more populated areas like Java or Sumatra. So this type of like communal activities, organizing mutual aid, sharing resources, even cooking for neighbors who are being affected by the COVID virus, etc. So this has been one of our values that we are very proud of, and I think this is very much prevalent in many Asian cultures.
Right, indeed, and the Gotong Royong truly highlights the strength that comes when community spirit and faith come together to overcome challenges, and more importantly, it grows naturally from people's daily life instead of organized by the government. Well, Ms. Shah, I would like to start with a phrase that you've already known, perhaps, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. It means the world is one family, right? It guides India's cultural diplomacy. So how could this philosophy of inclusion reshape cooperation in Asia?
Yes, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, as you rightly translated, means the world is one family. And this is not just a phrase, but it's a mindset that could play an important role in transforming Asia's future. We believe in collaboration over competition because individually, you and I could perhaps do good work, but together we can do great work. The way the world has addressed several issues, such as eradication of polio or even the very recent COVID pandemic, proves that. Similarly, when we are talking on the topic of climate change, it inspires shared responsibility because any natural calamities, may be it floods, droughts, or disasters, don't respect borders. Nature doesn't stop for the imaginary boundaries that humans have made, and these times just makes us realize how human we all are. Because at the end of the day, when we look at each other as family, it gives us motivation to do better. We know today that the consequences of climate change are often bared by the community and regions which created the least impact on it. So, looking at fellow humans as family enables us to recognize this inequality and work towards creating solutions for clean energy, sustainable agriculture, and disaster resilience. Most importantly, this philosophy promotes dialogue over conflict, urging us to solve disputes through understanding, not power struggles. So, if we see our fellow neighbors as family, Asia can then lead the world in inclusive, peaceful, and sustainable growth.
Indeed, it is one of the Asian values we're talking about, isn't it? We see this world as one family. And if we do that, diplomacy becomes less about negotiations and more like a conversation at a family table. And building on that, base, let's explore how these traditions are finding new life in the modern world and reaching new audiences. Ms. Han, we've seen younger generations in China engaging with the Confucian thought, not just in classrooms, but through comics, short videos, even mobile games. So how do you view these creative reinterpretations of classics like the Analects?
When young people encounter Confucius through comics, through short videos, through mobile games, they are not just diluting the tradition, they are translating them into the language of their time, using this kind of modern language to reimagine and retranslate and carry the spirit of this traditional culture forward. So this is very vital. And the Confucianism was never meant to be frozen in classical texts. It was always about cultivating ethnic life in context, especially in today's turbulent world. We need something stable and we need something from our old tradition and history to be carried forward. That is the cornerstone of our spiritual life nowadays. So this kind of dialogue, also I call it a dialogue. It's a dialogue between the tradition and modern society. It's a dialogue between our ancestors, Confucians and the like, to our modern people. So it's just not a replace about deep reading. It's not that at all. Deep reading can also be a form of carrying forward their spirits. But these new forms can certainly spark probably more curiosity, spark and foster empathy, and reframe the ancient wisdom as relevant, even urgent, in navigating modern dilemmas like family, responsibility, or public life to reach a new balance, like what I just said about how to balance the collective interests and individual interests for the young people. More importantly, in my opinion, such kind of interpretations open up Confucian thought to dialogue and ownership. The sense of ownership is so important these days for younger generation. So tradition becomes something young people can help shape. They are owners of these traditions and they can help shape, they can question, they can remix rather than just something handed down by the older generation to them. So I believe it is, how tradition can stay alive by these new forms.
Right, we are indeed seeing the 2,000 years old Confucianism is developing with the change of time, and it's wonderful to see tradition truly speaks the language of youth. Ms. Chin, I understand that a growing number of content creators are blending Islamic identity with modern storytelling in Indonesia. For example, the Ramadan vlogs now resonate not only nationally but across Asia as well.
I think there are three aspects that I like to highlight on these issues. First of all, is the role of new media. The fact that we are very active in the social media platform, and a lot of Indonesian actually digest their news from this platform instead of just like mainstream traditional platforms. And this is also indicative of all how the digital infrastructure and capacity building in Indonesia has been progressing quite significantly. And I have to note, like the Belt and Road Initiative has contributed significantly in this process. And the second aspect of it I want to talk about is the Indonesian Islamic identity. We are the largest Muslim population in the world with approximately over 240 million Muslims, which is 88% of our population. But we are not an Islamic state. We are a unitary state with a moderate and also modern Islamic identity with a very strong sense of patriotism. We are also a very diverse society with over 200 ethnic identities, and also sort of like these issues that will affect our Islamic identity from within. Those are the internal factors that have been contributing to our Islamic identity. There are also external factors that has been very positive in our development of our Islamic identity. For example, the cross-border exchanges. One of the very prominent example is how Indonesian students, Indonesian Muslim students in China have been pursuing their studies. In the past 2 decades, there are significant rise in numbers of Indonesian students in China, especially in the Muslim students. we now have 15,000 Indonesian students in China, amongst the largest in Southeast Asia. But this is also a situation where in the past it was very difficult to convince Indonesian students, especially with a Muslim background, to study in China, because there are so many misinformation and disinformation about China that's all over in Indonesia. But because of this platform, because of the creativity, and also how the Muslim students in China has made innovation in our tradition, and also reflecting their experiences in foreign countries, in this case China, have able to tell the stories. So blending their own Islamic identity and modern sensibility, as well as the local context of where they were, especially in this case in China. So ranging from storytelling, fashion, creative expressions, this has been crucial in creating a sense of solidarity, eradicating those misinformation and disinformation with regard to China in this specific case, but not secluded to China only. In the future, if there are sort of like Indonesian students wanting to study in other regions in Asia, this platform would be very useful in order to deepening the solidarity amongst youth in Asia.
From what you said, Ms. Chin, is inspiring that in our digital age, traditions can still keep their soul. It's like, I would like to say, a modern Silk Road of culture connecting young hearts across Asia. Ms. Shah, I've been practicing yoga lately, although as a rather new learner, but I've noticed yoga's global rise and also the worldwide popularity of Bollywood films. They are indeed powerful examples of how Indian culture engages with the world. How do you view this process of reinterpretation in cross-cultural contexts?
Absolutely. I believe that this is a dynamic process of mutual learning and cultural dialogue. When practices like yoga or Bollywood films cross borders, they naturally transform and adapt to the different societies and values and the ways of life of those societies. When we're talking about yoga, while it originated as a deeply spiritual and meditative discipline in India, it is now being embraced globally for physical health, mindfulness, and stress relief. So some might see this as dilution, but I see it as a cultural exchange because each adaptation reflects local needs while also sparking curiosity about its deeper roots. Yoga has become a powerful tool for a coping mechanism for many, helping them navigate the pressures of fast paced urban life. Similarly, Bollywood's global appeal, whether through music, dance, or storytelling, brings India's culture into new spaces where people connect with themes of love, struggle, and family, even if the context changes according to their geographic regions.
Indeed, well, seeing people everywhere embrace yoga or Bollywood is truly cultural emotion. And ancient heritage becoming a shared language that bridges continents is brilliant indeed. Well, as we approach the end of today's dialogue, I'd like to pose one final question to everyone. If you could pass on one sentence from your culture or tradition to the youth of Asia, what would that be?
Harmony in diversity to reach the great unity. In Chinese, 和而不同，天下大同.
Well, actually, it's quite similar to Professor Han. We have Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, which is unity in diversity. So I would like to say, let all Asian youth stand proud together in shaping a future where our diversity become the pillars of shared progress and peace.
We have a dialogue in Sanskrit called Loka Samatsa Sukhino Bhavantu, which basically translates into may all beings everywhere be happy and free. It's a call to act with kindness, think beyond ourselves, and to work towards a future where everyone can thrive together.
It is through open and meaningful exchange that our civilizations continue to grow together. Thanks again, ladies, for your brilliant insights.